Welcome, everyone, to this free 1 hour call with Sarah Grandinetti titled, What If You Aren't Meant to Be Chosen, but to Choose? And one of the things that I love so much about this topic and this dynamic, besides the fact that we have talked about this in other calls for like years. And so for it to like get the stage as its own call is really exciting for me because it shows up in all these different places in our lives, from like work to relationships to money, getting invited to lunch, like all these different things. And so I think what I would ask you first, Sarah, to start off this call is just like, what is it about that like significance of being chosen?
Hello, everybody. Just so you know, hi Trini, I saw you wave. Kate's gonna be like our moderator, so she's gonna be bouncing questions. You guys can put stuff in the chat too if stuff comes up, and we're gonna leave some time at the end to do our raffle giveaway, and then also to see if anybody actually wants to come on and be a little bit facilitated. I don't bite. Actually, I just give lots of hugs and kisses, unless you like to be bit. Okay. So great question. I'm going to answer it, or I'm going to give you a question to ponder. So with the desire to be chosen, can we look at it? Because for me, I like to actually, can I tell a little bit of my backstory first for those who are just meeting me? Is that okay? Do I have permission?
You totally have permission, and you also don't need it.
Okay, cool. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Dane here is my older brother. I used to say that with a lot of significance. It's not as significant anymore, but I do really adore the guy. But I avoided the tools of access consciousness for a very long time, for 15 years. I got my bars run in the year 2000 when Dane first found access. And of course, the sweet older brother that he is, and yes, he's an older brother, he just doesn't age. So if you're wondering who's older, he's older by 9 years. I just want to put that out there for my benefit. Thank you. Okay. But he's like, hey, there's this thing that I'm choosing that's changing everything. And I was like, that's so cool for you. And I went to Santa Barbara and I got my bars run. And I always say that I'm pretty sure when they say like with bars, either you'll have a great massage or your whole life will change, that I was the great massage model, because I walked out of there feeling so rested and relaxed, but I was not ready for my whole life to change. So I avoided these tools for a really long time. And most importantly, it was because I was overcomplicating them up here. And I had the point of view that it couldn't be that easy. And so I would make every tool that I received hard and challenging and something that I could not digest or I couldn't get. So when I became a facilitator, I still, this many years later, like 10 years, I still don't know how the fuck that happened, but here we are. I kind of committed to being like my own type of translator. So I will dissect and explore and like common language, if you will, and then break it apart with story and analogies to invite you to have your awareness from what you receive from that. Okay. So that's me. Hi. Um, Now let's go into the question. So what is it about being chosen? For me, when I get curious about that, so you guys, when you have something floating in your world or someone's asking you a question, like add curiosity first, like get curious. Like you don't, if someone said this for the first time and you had no reference points, you would use curiosity to explore it. So what if we start just exploring everything with curiosity? Okay. So one of my like coined phrases is add wonder, and wonder and curiosity are brothers in my point of view. Okay. So I'm going to go not to my reference point of validation is what they are looking for, Kate, and the statement there. I'm going to get curious. Okay. So validation popped in as a right and correct answer, if you will. And I think that would take us only so far, because what's underneath it is, why do we require it? What is the story underneath the desire for validation that's running the show? And so when I add curiosity to that, I look at like one of the things I'm really excited about in facilitation and getting to contribute to is parenting. To me, my interesting point of view, if we change parenting, we change the fucking world and create a totally different future, because it is this subtlety of rightness, of how someone chooses to raise a child based on history, based on the past, and what they liked or didn't like from their childhood, which was handed down from their grandparents to their parents, which was handed down from their parents to their grandparents, and so on and so forth. And we just keep perpetrating it. Okay. So it's a place that's like I look for, and I'm like I look at a lot, and I'm like, okay, so when you're growing up, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, or just any adult you're around, when it comes to even being in school, you are rewarded and validated. You're chosen to receive such validation and reward when you get it right. Okay. So whether that's like a star, like a big star on the top of your homework, or mommy and daddy let you have ice cream this week after dinner, or you know, I don't know, you got a new iPad. I didn't grow up with iPads, but if you're like under 30, I don't know, right? You got, like, I don't even know what I got to watch cartoons on like 3 channels, but anyhow, you're rewarded for good behavior, which makes you feel validated. And then one of the things in our reality that is built on polarity is the desire for right, like such an like an incessant need to be seen as right. But that is actually what is under the desire for right, is a deep need to never be wrong, because wrong hurt too much. Wrong made you wrong. Like, I know, like as a kid, when I was wrong, they would send you off to your room, and the thing that was taken away from me when I was a kid was communion. So it would be like, nope, you don't get to sit with the family and watch TV after dinner. You're going to go to your room, straight to your room, young lady. And so, and that separation, now here we're going even underneath that. The separation is against my very being, because your very being, my very being, is communion. You are communion right now with all things. And if that's the truth of you, then the way to separate you from you and have you constantly desiring to be validated is your desire to get to be you. Because the lie is that if someone chooses to separate from you, or someone chooses to judge you or make you wrong or whatever, that you don't have all of you. And what access gives us is permission to know that no matter what point of view is around you, whether someone is validating you by choosing you or not, you always have all of you. And that even separation of any kind is a lie. Because no matter if you leave this Zoom today and you're like, I hate Sarah, I hope I never see her face out anywhere ever again, and I'm never taking another class with her, and you're like, take her off the internet, and you start reporting all of my posts, and you call access and you're like, she's the worst thing that ever happened. Guess what? You and I are still one, baby. Like, you can hate me all you want, but we're still one, because communion is actually what's true. So even if someone's not choosing you, their choice is actually irrelevant to what your natural state of being is. But what I know is so many of the foundations of this reality are put there to keep you from being that which is communion. And so if you look at your traps of polarity, if you look at even how you design relationships, how many of them are based on the need to be received, or based on the need to be validated, to be chosen. And when we start to walk ourselves out of that, you have way more space to look at you as the chooser or the creator of your reality, with relationships and everything. But we've got to untell the lies first. Okay. So all of you're chosen, you're valuable. If they choose you, you're validated. And everywhere that's limiting you, not just from the relationships you'd like to have, but the receiving is possible, will you destroy and uncreate that times a fucking godzillion and a godzillion more. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povads, bases, creations, and beyonds. It's a very long-winded answer. I hope you didn't fall asleep. Thanks.
Well, personally, I loved every second of it. I act like I'm a bit teary-eyed because but it's like the space that you were just tapping into and inviting us to with communion and how being wrong hurt so much. Oh my gosh. Like, and not from like sadness, but just like, wow, like the acknowledgement of not only that in my world, but then tapping into like everyone on this call and then the whole fucking world of everyone who has experienced that in any which way was just like, whoa. And then bringing that into what you were also highlighting about if we could change parenting, it would change the whole world, because so much of what we experienced is because of the adults we were brought up by, whether it's literal parents or even like teachers and stuff. And then that leap into like, it's actually irrelevant if someone is choosing you or not, because we're actually all in communion, is like, all right, well, call over, guys. Like we can just loop that, and like it's really not the answer, but like if we like play with those energies, there, that contributes to almost every question that I have written out for you for where we could
Sorry.
go today. Oh my gosh.
I like to
Okay.
do the end first.
Yeah. Well, I also teased Sarah before we hopped on today. I was like, I wrote out so many extra questions because other times we have done this, she has answered the questions before I have even asked them, or not answered, but explored them before I even asked them. Um, so as you were talking about the validation and the rightness, oh my God, like for me, and maybe I'm the only one on here, but like rightness, the feeling of that, the validation of that is like a drug. There's like the endorphin, like, oh my God, I did it right. And as I was looking at that, as you were talking, was kind of like, oh, right. Like if being wrong hurts, like it's so intense because we're aware of all the things around it, then it's like those moments when it seems like you're being validated. And then it becomes this like striving, right? To then, well, where can I get that again? Where can I get that again? And you can see how there can be like the pitfall in that instead of just like owning who you are. I kind of want to go to the other, maybe it's the other side of the coin for a second with this. So what does it look like maybe for, because we don't want to cut off our receiving either. So like when people are acknowledging us, even when there is like a validation, how do we receive that without it being the like solidity and significance that we're like striving for?
Mm. Yeah, you got to look for the clues. So, boy, do I know this struggle as well too, because like when I came into work with Access and slash be a facilitator, oh my God, it was like I felt like every wrongness of me was exposed. And so I had a lot of fight in my world, I had a lot of proving in my world. Not as much vulnerability that would have changed it. That I started to choose eventually, that changed everything. But so someone can come from validation, and you can actually receive it interesting point of view, receive what they are attempting to create with, which is often celebration. But the little tweak that we don't often um like allow ourselves to be aware of is when it becomes validation is when the expectation for it to stay the same, whether it's yours or theirs, is attached. What do you mean by that, Sarah? Great question, Sarah. I'm going to answer it, Sarah. Okay. So um so if someone comes up and is like, oh, oh, you have the perfect body. Okay. Validation or acknowledgement? Perfect is kind of a judgment, because what is perfect? It's just someone's interesting point of view, right? But perfect also kind of locks you in, right? Because if you're perfect like this, then you're any other variance of that, you're not perfect anymore, because perfect has one definition. And so are you allowed to change your body if someone's like, you have the perfect body? If you're seeking their right judgment or their validation, you wouldn't be able to change. You would need to seek it always. And you can look at this, like I'm using body compliment, if you will, as an example, but look at the places where you have been validated and then you won't let it change because it felt so good to have that person finally see you, to finally celebrate you. And I see this in business a lot where like, I ask myself a lot of times if it actually creates to go in and celebrate someone publicly or celebrate them privately. And I ask that because sometimes the seeking of validation is so outward and they want everybody to be witness to it so that they can have power over others or rightness over others. And it'll actually lock them up and they'll stay there holding on to like that one thing that they created when they're actually capable of so much more if I do that publicly. Sometimes doing it privately has them go, oh, wow, like I'm so grateful to receive that from her. And what else can I create? But not from me going, hey, this is the greatness of you. This right here. Hold on to it and keep it going. You know what I mean? Because my ask is that everybody's getting greater, right? So there's a subtlety of energy. If you ask to start to be aware of it, not from rejecting it, please still receive it, not from rejecting it, but from where you're actually cutting off the awareness and then fall into the trap of staying the same for someone else. You might go, oh, am I like not changing or choosing something greater because this person has been what I've allowed to be what validates me? And if their good judgment feels better than your greatness, stay there. No wrong choice.
That was a boom. Like that was a fucking boom. Cause not from, I don't know if I even have the words from this, but that like if their good judgment is more important than your greatness, it's like, even if we don't judge that choice of like, actually, you know what, I would rather just have their good judgment. And I'm like totally comfortable. Like if that's not a bad or a wrong, like, it's just like, you just stated that so simply.
It's absolutely not. It literally is just a choice. And here's the thing, you guys look around the room that you're in, look on the screen, and every single one of us is limited. Every single one of us is still buying some bullshit. Okay. So to me, to be like, oh, that person's free because they figured out how to create all the money, but like they can't, walk down through a room without worrying what people think about them. Like, are they free? Like we're all still choosing some shit in some way that's limiting us. And even if it's just our own points of view about us, it's still limiting us. So there's not one better limitation than another, like some limit easy for me to say, sorry, Dee Dee. Some definitely limit us in greater ways. But if the barometer is just about limitation, like, um, I just don't think it's worth getting into like judging any of us. It's just a choice. That's judgment actually promotes the polarity system. So why are we going to add anything to that? Whether it's your self-judgment or judgment of other people, what the fuck they're choosing. I got my own shit to worry about, So if your relationship creates for you and you are happy and with whatever, like my level of happy might be different than your level of happy, and not level from comparison, but like my type of happy, let's put it that way, be different than your type of happy. And your type of happy is like, hey, this is comfortable. And I have been struggling my whole life to just fucking feel comfortable. Let me be fucking comfortable. Please have your comfort. Like it's wild because I think we do these weird, like you hear that and you're like, as if I'm trying to like make you wrong, not you, Kate, but I perceive somewhere that, if their good judgment is feels better than your greatness, then stay there. It's not wrong. It's just know what you're choosing. Just know, you know what? This actually works for me right now. And yes, I know more is possible, but right now I'm just going to own the choice that I'm having and I'm going to enjoy it. Might as well enjoy it if you're choosing it, is my point of view.
So on social, we were putting up some posts about settling and like, when do you know that you're settling? And so one of the questions that someone submitted was, again, it's kind of this nuance of energy that you're exploring here of how do you discover the nuance between when you're settling to be chosen versus when you almost have like fantasy, unrealistic expectations of what something is supposed to look like.
These are good. I feel like I'm like in the rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is settling? Let's get curious. my interesting point of view is that in some way, every day we're all settling. That's not where you thought that was going to go. I'm sure of it. Meaning there's always more to choose. It's, the thing for me where it was projected at me for so long is like, you're never happy. You're never satisfied. It's kind of the same energy. So my husband used to say that to me all the time. You're never satisfied. And that would trigger me so much. And then I realized, what am I fighting against? I'm like, oh, because it's true. I'm not ever satisfied. And once I own, I'm not ever satisfied because I know that there's more. And it's not about him or what he can provide. But if I know greater is possible, I'd like to choose that. Thank you. So settling is kind of along the same lines, right? Like if I hope that I'm more limited today than I will be tomorrow. And in some ways, knowing that like is an amount of settling for what is available today because tomorrow is going to bring something greader, right?
Yeah.
It might sound like mixing words, but I'm kind of just playing with the nuances of the energy, right? So with regards to relationship, do they inspire you? Do they inspire you? Not because they're choosing consciousness, not because they make more money, but do they inspire you to explore possibilities that aren't currently in your world or awarenesses? Like, are you engaging life through this relationship? Are you living not through the relationship, but like with the relationship, like, and to me, if you're not doing that, if you are learning and receiving from each other, and we call that creationship and access, if you're not just busy relating to someone else's need of reactive realities, which is often what relationship is Gary talks about wow, I'm interrupted. ADHD just took over. 17 conversations going on at once. I'm going to slow it down.
Addendum, footnote, flip to the glossary and back. No, it's so good though.
Okay. Gary talks about, and I love this, he actually talks about relationship being, the relationship is the distance between two things, right? So here's me, here's them, and then this is the relationship. In order to maintain the relationship, you have to, watch this, guys. Everybody listening, turn up your ears. Okay. You have to maintain distance, or it's not a relationship. Relationship is the distance between two things. So how do you do that? You only allow yourself to expose that which they can receive. What, Sarah? Okay. So if I know that their reactive reality will not receive that I like to skinny dip in the middle of the night, go naked in the pool, right? I will stop doing that. I know. I will
Scandal.
stop. Yeah. Someone call Pam. Right. I'll stop doing that because they can't receive that I like the feeling of water on my naked body. Okay. Right. But look at it for it could be your hobbies. It could be your whatever, like however you fit together that maintains the distance. Okay, cool. Now we have that awareness. So what am I doing to create the distance between two things? I'm maintaining judgment. I'm maintaining the PES juniors, the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that make sure that I have a relationship. Well, I don't even know what question I was answering. That's how bad this is. I mean, but great.
Yeah. At some point we were talking about settling versus fantasy.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I kind of pulled it back in. Okay. ADHD exploration. So are you with settling? I guess my question to everybody is are you creating or are you maintaining? Are you maintaining what you need to maintain in order to be received right by them? And that's a question only you can answer. Are you waking up every day doing the thing that they need you to do in order for them to feel connected to you while simultaneously giving up you? That's just a little clue. That does not mean that if you slipped into maintenance mode in a relationship and you would like to choose something different that you can't, because you absolutely fucking can. And that's what I love exploring in the 3-day relationship class is really looking at the relationships from different places, because so many of us have so many definitions and so many experiences of the relationships around us that we've kind of locked it all up into places where I only look at relationship from this angle. You know, one of my friends told me today that she doesn't know if consciousness and relationship can go together. Right. And she's like, so I have to separate them. So I have my relationship over here and I have consciousness over here, and I don't know how they can play together. So help. Right. So that, but that is often from a person coming from a person that whose family is like, hey, anything that makes you happy is wrong and not allowed around here. Right. And so you can't maintain our good judgment of you if you have anything outside of here that makes you happy. We need to be source. And so then you go, okay, I want this thing, but I desire consciousness. So I'm going to keep this thing far away from here so consciousness can't affect it. But I also can't receive from consciousness into my relationship because I'm trying to keep them separate. And these are just the stories, right? We all have the stories. And a lot of us are either maintaining the opposite of what our parents showed us, or have made our parents so right that we desperately want to do it just like them, even though you're not dating your dad and you're not dating your mom. But we'll project at our partners. Wow. This is like day 3 of RDD. I'm going to stop what I was about to say because I don't know if that contributes.
Well, what I would love to step into from here is, because we've had a couple questions that were submitted that play on the same idea, but from a couple different angles. And that is when it feels like you are not being chosen. So if that's, maybe you're already in relationship with someone, but you're like insecure with them and you're like, are they really choosing me? I'm not really sure what's going on here. Or you're interested in someone and you're like, I don't know if this is actually going to go anywhere. Or it could even be with friends of like, I'm not invited to lunch or to do the things, or even in creation, if someone isn't choosing like services or classes. These are all the examples that were given. When you become aware of that feeling of like, oh, I don't think I'm being chosen here, what are the next steps and the next tools and the next questions to like walk through that?
So good. Well, what I want to invite us all to, an awareness you should have been given on day 1 in this body, in this lifetime, is that you're an energetic being and you're aware. What you're actually talking about is the energy that you have attached to a feeling that's creating a result. And most modalities in the world want to address the feeling, but not the energy that was actually created from the point of view, which was actually a lie. Okay. So if we look at the energy of not being chosen, what point of view do you have about you that is being validated by someone else's choice? So it's kind of checking a box in your reality that I will not be chosen. I am not valuable enough to be chosen. I am not enough. Like, you have that going on in your world, or it would just be someone's choice. And I know this, and I like, sometimes, when you walk through something, like sometimes you walk through the fire and you have like the scars just show all the burns that you went through, like, and other times you walk through the fire and you're like, I can't prove to you that I've walked through this fire. I don't have the words. Okay. So I'm going to try to do the words if you can't see the burns on my skin. When I first started creating with Access Consciousness, like I felt so out of my element. I felt like I stood out in every crowd, not in a good way. I was desperate to be chosen, whether that was like in like the company of Access, or even when I became a facilitator, people to choose my classes, that I was doing such a push and a force to be chosen that it was actually creating the adverse effect. Okay. I think if we look at that, but because my point of view was that I didn't deserve to be chosen, or I didn't deserve to be there, or whatever. Okay. The more you choose vulnerability with those energies and don't buy them, because the moment you go to fight them, you're proving that which is the opposite of the thing you're fighting. So you keep it looping in your world. Have you ever heard the thing like 4 left turns? right? So you do 4 left turns, going, oh, I think I'll come up here and I'll go left and I'll go left. And then you end up back where you started. And you're like, how is this still in my fucking world? Well, because at every turn, you're just fighting another version of that thing that you haven't actually let go of. So now when I started to let go of that stuff and really show up with the 5 elements of intimacy in my life, which are honor, trust, gratitude, allowance, and vulnerability, we go over these in the RDD class. They change everything when you actually get how to start to institute them in your life. When I started to have that for me, other people's choices were less personal about me, more and more and more. Someone forgetting, like, I remember I like to tell stories to bring things alive. So I hope you guys enjoy stories. But gosh, like maybe in 2019, I think so, right before COVID, I think. There was the annual Christmas party for Gary and Dane throw, and someone on staff was in charge of making a thread, and they added 2 of another Sarah's numbers. And so I was not added. So this other Sarah had 2 numbers. They added both of them, and I was not added to this thread. Now, this is my brother. And I know logically that I'm invited to his Christmas party. Like, I know that, right? I was so hurt when I heard about it through the grapevine, when someone's like, assuming, of course, I'm going. They're like, Sarah, like, what are you going to wear to the Christmas party? I'm like, what Christmas party? Okay. And I was broken. I mean, truly, like, took it to the heart, personal, crying, crying, crying. And I think it was after even the Christmas party that I had a conversation with Dane, and he's like, oh, I thought you were going to be there. I saw you on the list. I was like, you didn't see me on the list, buddy. But I realized that, like, that was all just me taking it personal. Now, if I'm left off an invite, I'm willing to knock on the door and be like, hey, was I left off on purpose? If so, can we talk about why? Or I'm not left off the invite ever again, because it's not my point of view that I'll be left off the invite. So I won't energetically create it. Okay. Because our point of view creates our reality. Change your point of view, change your reality. So what's the value of making something like that personal? Like, what point of view are you proving to yourself? That's where I would get vulnerable and go to the 5 elements of intimacy. This is how I play with them. Like, all right, vulnerability is my facilitator. And I go, hey, vulnerability, what do you know about this? What can I choose with this? All right, I'm going to get vulnerable with myself and go, by getting personal, like by taking it as personal that they chose to not invite me. Now, there's another side to that I'll go through in a second. Just remind me about when someone is doing something intentional. Okay. But when I take it personal, I attach the feelings to it, I confirm the exact point of view that is limiting me. And basically, it's like nailing another nail into your reality. So if I don't take it personal, I can go, what am I aware of? I don't have to fight the feeling of it being personal. Is that making sense? Can people nod if I'm making any fucking sense? Okay. Right. So we're energetic beings, right? So your feelings are coming up. What you have to do when you create feelings is you want to fight the feeling. It's personal. I have feelings about it being personal. And now I need to work on to get that. But as soon as I go to put my attention on that, I nail that as real and true, because if it wasn't real and true, I wouldn't give it any attention. Okay. So now if I go, oh, I'm not going to take this personal. I'm not going to make it mean anything about me. Interesting choice they made. All right. So the whole group's going out to dinner without me. I was not invited. All right. What am I aware of? That's a question that can empower me to actually look into what's going on. Is there someone in that group that actually does not want me there? Huh. I wonder what that's about. Is that something I need to address? Is that something that creates greater for me? Is this relevant to the creation of my life? Is it someone I desire to have resolve with, or is it something I can let go because I have more information now and they're actually poisoning a well or trying to separate me from other people? Look at all the awareness from one thing that I could get if I'm not fighting the thing I'm avoiding. Get curious. Don't get defensive. Okay. So, but when we make it personal, you guys, that now has to be your fight. and you solidify the thing you're asking to change or the limitation that's holding you when you give that your energy. And I watch us do this all the time. And I know I did it. And it's like where I take the tools and I twist them and then I'm using them against me. And it just doesn't have to be that way. I watch people ask questions from the underlying energy of I'm already wrong. So now any question I ask is only going to point to wrong. And yet they're desperately seeking to not be wrong anymore. That's why they're even trying to ask a fucking question, but they're asking it from the conclusion that they're already wrong. And it breaks my heart because I'm like, you're not, but you've got to get underneath that thing and you've got to change the narrative. You have to rewrite the story. You have to stop buying the points of view that you've solidified over so many years because the world told you that that's how you have to do it here. Access invites you to not have to do that in your relationship with others, in your relationship with yourself. I've been talking for a really long time. It's probably because there's Monster in here, which is, I'm an energetic being drinking energetic drinks.
So on brand.
Sorry, Dee Dee. I will give you a hug and kiss later. I promise. I love you so much.
We're going to take a sip break for Dee Dee. No, but like, I love what you walked us through because it's that thing where we think it's about the feeling or the microcosm or the detail or the very small dynamic. And so then that's what we focus on. Like you're talking about nailing the thing on, like that's where all of the attention goes. But you just showed us how with the space of question and looking at like what's actually under that and what's under that, like, because these other things wouldn't be relevant if we didn't have something under it. It would just be like, oh, whatever, someone forgot, or, like it wouldn't even, it wouldn't
Yeah.
bother or aggravate at all.
And it's not to say that again that you're not aware of something, right? But you can never get to that awareness if you're doing it through the judgment and the judgment of you and the judgment of them and the judgment that it even happened and the feelings that it brought up and that you now have to fight and suppress or go totally into and dramatize so because you can prove that you're being when you're feeling, it's like you get to, and I hope I displayed the energy enough because I can sit home and go, oh my God, nobody likes me. Nobody's ever liked me, and that's how it feels sometimes. Like I'm not doing that to make fun of that I'm just saying like that energy, or you go, oh wow, I wasn't invited to dinner. Huh. What's that about? What is that? What am I aware of here? Because something's off and I don't get what's off. So what is off? What am I aware of? And then you start to use your tools for possibility rather than just digging yourself a deeper hole that you are aware of energy. So it must be you and you must be wrong. And now we're back at square one after our 4 left turns.
Yeah, I think also we should maybe do that as an analogy, or you should do that as a live or a reel or a TikTok or whatever, the 4 left turns. It's so brilliant. You mentioned that you may want to talk about when someone is doing that intentionally to like separate and not choose you. Do you want to touch on that at all? Or
Well, that's what I did. I actually circled myself there. Is like, it's not that you're not aware, because I think people think that like, if I don't take it personal, I know someone has something up about me and they did this on purpose. They might have. They totally might have. But if you're not taking it personal, if you're not going into the rabbit hole of wrongness, you actually have your superpowers with you called your awareness and questions, right? So you can go, what is she up to? Oh, she's trying to separate me from the group. Okay, what would I like to choose with that? And that doesn't mean go punch her in the face, unless punching her in the face is going to create greater. It just means you go, oh, I have my eye on her now. Okay, if I have my eye on her, or I can be aware of her, I can actually start being aware of like, if there's any, like I said, I called it poisoning of the well. There are a lot of balloons in the Mexico trade.
that was amazing. I don't even know how they did that.
I'm curious. Is there anyone even near the screen? Who knows?
No, but there's still balloons going.
I support this message. Okay.
Mexico trade, we see you.
But now I can use my powers of awareness, of question, of curiosity. I have my awareness on the situation. So now I can change it with my energy. And now if I need to choose the manipulation to change or tweak something to get more awareness, I can do that. And I can actually be in the action state in my life rather than the reaction state that keeps me small.
Boom. So I think my personal last question that I'd like to ask, and then we can open up to questions from other people if you want, is I think there are some places where we are very aware where we are waiting to be chosen, right? So if it's the guy, it's the girl, it's the job, it's the whatever, like there are some places it is like, yes, of course, I know what I'm doing here, right? Like I'm very aware. But then we also have blind spots. Like we have places in our lives where we don't even realize that we're waiting for the right time, the right thing, or for someone else to see us or validate us. Is there, I guess it's for those who are daring enough, is there a tool or question to start exposing those places if we're ready to kind of become more aware of that?
You know, I left you an audio today about my big unpopular opinion about blind spots. You,
Yes.
you sneaky little devil, you. Um, okay, so I say this a lot in class. Anything that comes out of my mouth that does not light you up and have you go, hell yeah, throw it out. Okay, I don't have fucking answers. I definitely don't have answers about your life. I barely have any about mine. Okay, so please don't own it. Please don't try to make it fit. Please don't shove it into your reality as if I am some more powerful being than you are, because I'm fucking not. I know what I know. You know what you know. And so, with that said, I have an interesting point of view about blind spots. I think desperately seeking blind spots can make you more blind. Okay. Because if you don't actually have one, but you've concluded you should go seeking them, you're going to get tired. Okay. And you will also invent them, because anything that is your point of view will create your reality. So if you have decided and concluded that I must have a blind spot here and I must seek it, you're already concluding you're blind if you have a blind spot. And now you're going to take your blind ass eyes and go seek the spot. Okay. I again watched a number of people do this. And I say this, I feel bad saying this word in English because I don't know how it's going to come across for Dee Dee, and it might make her brain hurt. And so I'm going to say it trepidatiously. Do you have a word for that, Dee Dee? Trepidatiously? Um, I am tiptoeing towards what I am saying. Does that work? Okay. Thank you. Because Dr. Dean here is the most tenacious motherfucker on planet Earth with change. And this guy has a way of uncovering blind spots in his reality. And what I was telling some of my girls today, I used to compare myself to him and his ability to expose blind spots. And it would just keep me looping in my 4 left turns, because I thought I had to do consciousness like Dane. And when I realized that I have my own capacities and I can explore those, and my capacity might not be uncovering blind spots always, I started to interact with the tools and having more change than any one blind spot uncovering ever created for me. And so because you have such a need to be right in this reality, we all do, you will go fucking manufacture a blind spot just so you can say you found it. Okay. So here's what I'm going to invite you to. If there's something that piques in your world and you have a curiosity about it, like if you have a question, I say this a lot too. If you have a question, it's because the awareness is coming through the soil of your reality. You wouldn't have a question about it if you didn't also own the awareness. You don't have a question. The world taught you have a question because there's something you don't know. That's one of the biggest lies we bought very early on. I'm questioning because I don't know. It's why so many fucking people won't ask fucking questions, because they don't want to admit they don't know. Boo boo, you have a question and it's itching in your reality. And it is because the awareness is starting to peek through the soil. If you trust that process, if you know that your curiosity about anything anyone says or any information you get will allow the awareness to come through the soil, and you trust that, you don't have to seek blind spots. You know that it'll show up the way it needs to show up when it needs to show up. and you don't have to slow yourself down to try to seek the wrongness of you so you can finally get you right. It's all the trap of polarity. The way that I asked for change, and I did my best to describe this on a call the other day. We're going to run with it again because I don't have another way to describe it yet. If I'm like, hey, you know what? I know there's something about that in my world. I don't judge me. Nope, because that's only going to solidify. It's going to put ankle weights on it. It's going to slow it down. It's not going to be able to run up the mountain for change anymore. Okay. So we're not going to put ankle weights on it. I don't know why that accent just came out of my, I don't know why I just became Southern, but that's what I just fucking did. Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. I entertain myself. Makes it. Anyways.
I want to know if Dee Dee also did the accent. She did.
I don't know why. Okay. All right. So we ain't putting no ankle weights on our ask. Okay. So I'm not gonna judge it. If I like Dane all the time drops bombs in my world, just anything he says on a one-off, I'm like, whoa, that's fucking awesome. What is that for me? Ooh, how do I have more than that? Universe, show me. And when I go, universe, show me what it is I take it from an ask in my reality, because that thing is poking through the soil, that awareness of something else being possible, some greater awareness, some future self that is now talking. And I go, hey, and I pull it out and I go, so that my brain and my points of view can't limit it. And I go, universe, show me. And I throw it out. But what I do when I throw it out is I go, show me. And in the show me, this is how I see it. I see things in pictures. So hopefully the picture I'm going to build will give you more awareness for how this could contribute to you if it can. I ask it to orbit, like stay in my orbit. And to me, it's like gold sparkles. Okay. So you can color yours however you want, but it's like a little gold orb of a request that I have given to the universe. And now it's just orbiting and like it's playing in my orbit. And there'll be some moment in time in the future, because I trust that the universe has my back and it answers my request, the full bodied awareness of what I'm asking for will show itself. It might be in the words to a fucking song. It might be in the way my cat looks at me. It might be something you guys put in a chat someday, but it's like, oh, that thing, thank you. And I don't dwell on it and I don't write it down. And I definitely don't write it in Sharpie so that I'll never lose it. I just go, ooh, and acknowledge that the awareness poked through the soil of my reality. And now I have it. It doesn't have words attached. It is not solid. It is just a little shift and a little change that energetically took place because I requested it. Do not need to seek any blind spots. That is my interesting point of view. If you love seeking blind spots, what do you know about that I don't know that only fucks me up? Please seek all your blind spots. Okay. So this is not the right way to do consciousness. This is what I'm offering you because you came to a class, you silly moo. You came to a class with Sarah Grandinetti. So Sarah Grandinetti is going to show you what she knows. Okay. And what do you know about this? How do you receive awareness? How do you create change? What I know is that we get faster to change when we don't judge first what we're asking to change. Okay. Those are damn ankle weights.
Go to the shop soon for some branded ankle weights. No, I love that so much. And it's for me an incredible example. I'm going to use the word why, but I don't, it's so much more than why, but it's why I so appreciate and admire your approach and facilitation, is because you're inviting people to the table, to what, like, you're sharing what you're walking through and how you play with it, but you're offering it in a way that invites people to come. It's like if there was a buffet and they were coming like nibbling at it, it's not that they're taking away of like, now I have to do it this way. They're getting a taste and then being like, wow, what do I know about this? Like even the invitation of like, and if you have a capacity with blind spots, like fucking own it and go. Like that is incredible. And again, it's so fascinating. And you said it at the beginning of the call too, how quickly and how much our underlying point of view of wrongness is there when we go to ask a question, right? Because it's so easy with that example of like, well, I wonder where I might be slowing myself down, where else I might be waiting. The intention behind looking at that is like a desire to get greater, but it's already deciding, like you said, that I'm blind, that I'm wrong, and therefore there's something to like fix or whatever. So I just love, like, not that we had to like tie this call up in a neat little bow, but I love how that ended up weaving into what we were touching on at the beginning of the call, but we were able to address it in like an even more specific way.
Yeah. And I'll just add like one of my favorite questions that I ask all the time when I go into like, if I find myself in a stuck place is, what do I know about this that I'm pretending not to know? Right. Um, uh, Meaning you have lived lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Don't tell me that this little situation with your neighbor, you don't know anything about. Okay. Like, stop it, but like, it's so easy. And I gave like a call, one of our How to Become Money Workbook crew. Shout out to those of you who are on here. I fucking love these people who are showing up for that call. I told them to go watch The Old Guard. There's the first one, not the second one, because the second one's stupid, but watch it if you want to, because that's just Sarah's interesting point of view. But The Old Guard on Netflix is basically these immortal people who have lived hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes, and they draw upon it constantly because everybody around them's dying. And then the next generation, they've been around for 20,000 generations before and they know things, right? But like, look at that from that point of view. Like, there's nothing you don't know. You've just been here, so conditioned to being here and avoiding having your awareness, or not taught to how to use your awareness or create with it. And so if you get out of your own damn way and you ask the question, what do I know that I'm pretending not to know? Like, I asked that to Dane backstage at his last ESB, and his brain exploded, and then his whole world changed. And I'm not taking credit for that. What I'm bringing up is, even in facilitating Dane, you can ask Dane, what do you know about this that you're standing here pretending that you don't? He was like, right? So do that for yourself. Blow your own brain. Okay. What do I know about this that I'm pretending I don't know? Because my sweets, you all fucking pretended not to know the answers to so many questions growing up so that some other kid could get the prize, or so that your teacher doesn't feel fucking stupid. Or like, one of the things I say in my classes a lot is, you don't have to pretend to have a question to talk to me. Okay. Because one of the things that frustrated me so much in classes is actually my awareness is coming through and I want to explore it with the facilitator. But what I'm taught is, in order to go to the mic, I have to have a question. But if I transmute what I'm becoming aware of into a question so that the facilitator can seem or appear to be the smartest person in the room, then I'm diminishing my awareness. Okay. You were taught that the person at the front of the room knows more than you. Always. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in church. I don't care if you're at a seminar. I don't care if you're at your fucking mom's house and she's delivering the Christmas prayer. She knows more than you. Anybody at the front of the room knows more than you. I don't know more than you. Please. I don't know more than you, but you don't have to limit you. Yeah. You don't have to limit you and make other people, to feel to create other people as greater than you so that you can confirm your limited point of view. Explore, what do I know about this that I'm pretending not to know? And while I built the muscle of pretend, and I've done a really good job to make mommy feel like she's greater than me, and to make my teacher feel smart, and to make my brother and sister not hate me because I know things that they don't know, I'm done doing that with myself. I'm at least going to have the awareness for myself, even if it doesn't create to say it. I'm done doing it with myself.
And you really just showed me how dynamically, at least in my own world, that I instituted that as like a way of honoring. Like, this is how I will honor the people around me, is to like
Yeah. Bring
yeah.
that up in the RDD class when we talk about honoring, because that is
Okay.
an awesome one to explore. Someone make a note so Kate definitely brings that up.
Okay. Well, and I think we started a couple minutes late, so we have a couple minutes before we do the raffle. And this is a great bridge, because that's kind of where I thought maybe we could pause, not as like an ending to the call, but as kind of like a cool launch point for, whether people just take this and extrapolate in their own worlds, or they like come on to the next thing with us. You mentioned at the beginning of the call about how you use the elements of intimacy as like your way of like really like kind of I don't have the words for this, but like really owning who you are and not being so much at the effect of what other people are choosing and having it be personal. And you and I were having a really cool conversation about how we've noticed that when we have more walls and barriers up, whether that's points of view or whether that's like I'm trying to protect myself or whatever, we take in information differently because now it has to go through this whole filtering system. So if there's like one nugget that you could give people today to walk away from this call to start diving into those elements of intimacy with themselves, is there a nugget you would start with?
Mm. This has been the best podcast interview ever. Okay. Well, let's look at the value of the 5 elements of intimacy, like as far as, because I was around for, I mean, shit. I was around Access for a good 7 years before I like was like, okay, I'll look at that shit, because it was all like out here as an idea. Like I couldn't take it from the idea that I should have all of these things with myself and then like put it into work, like into action into my life. Like there was no game plan that I could come up with until there was. Okay. Now, great example of me going, universe, show me. And it was 3 years later that I was on a call with Dane and someone put something in the chat. I don't even know who it was or what call it was or what month it was, but something clicked reading that thing. And it was the thing I required in order to start myself on the journey of exploring the 5 elements of intimacy with what I know, not looking for some who has the answer on how to incorporate them into my life. Okay. So out in the world, there's there's like the self-love movement. Okay. And there's like the body positivity movement. That's another one. There is love yourself in spite of your difference, not including your difference. There's a lot of subtleties. Okay. But if you're going to go look out, like, how do you show your self-love? Now, out, if you, dude, type that into social media, I don't even want to know what you come up with, right? It'll be like, I take candlelight baths. I take myself on a date once a week. Okay, great. Like you're spending time with yourself. I spend a lot of fucking time with myself. All the fucking time I'm with myself. That is not making me more intimate with myself. Okay. And then there's the energy of like, have your back, but it always comes with this emoji. You know what I mean? Like you got to fight somebody in order to have your back. And then that energy is always me looking over my shoulder of, why is it my back that I have to have? Having my own back. Like, can I have my front too, please? I like both. Okay. So that was always very confusing. Like the messages on telling you, like I've said this so many times with when I was a being you facilitator, is like everyone around us is telling us, be you, be your authentic self, but no one's telling you how. Okay. That's how I felt about the 5 elements of intimacy. I didn't know how to get there. And so then I discovered this thing, this awareness that I had asked for, and I started to play with it for myself. And I told no one. I did it for 3 months straight, and I told no one until I told someone. And then, of course, because I have like the most creative team in the world, they're like, must do a call on it, must give it away, must do a call on it. And I was like, fine. So we did a call. And the exploration there is for 3 months. So you asked me what nugget I could give, and we walk away. So in case I don't see you guys on RDD next month or somewhere else in the future, I'd love for you to have this. Take 3 months or 3 weeks or 3 days, whatever you choose. If you're all in, cool. If you're not, cool. And you're not wrong if you go back on it and then start over, like no wrongness here. Okay. I took 3 months, and the only facilitators I had for 3 months, don't tell Dane, because I actually didn't even get on his calls. Shh. No one tell him. But for 3 months, I had the 5 elements of intimacy as my facilitator. I didn't call a friend. I didn't call another facilitator. And even in those months, I might be lying to you. I think I might have attended one Dane class because it was like well ahead in the books and I already had tickets and stuff. So I went to that, but I didn't get facilitated. Like I didn't go to the mic and ask a question. I didn't ask for facilitation at lunch. I didn't ask facilitation when I'm cutting his hair. Like I usually, we'd explore. My facilitators were the 5 elements of intimacy. And how does that look? That's not English. What does that look like? It's this. I showed you guys earlier. Something's up in my world. I don't care if it's about who should have taken out the trash. I don't care if it's about, is my husband cheating on me? I don't care if it's where'd all the money go? Whatever it is, you stop, you get present, and you go, hey, great. I call them the great 5. And this was before the big 5 came out. So I was like, why are you guys pulling my name? Okay. So there's the great 5 and there's the big 5. Okay. The great 5 are honor, trust, allowance, gratitude, and vulnerability. Okay. I would say, hey, great 5, which one of you wants to facilitate me right now? And for me, they look like the movie Inside Out. The little characters in the head, the little cartoons. One would pop out and be like, I'll take it. I'll take the job. And gratitude would show its face. And gratitude would be like, I'm here, Sarah. Let's get into this. Where are you not showing gratitude? And I was like, everywhere. Okay, where can you add some gratitude, Sarah? I'm like, I guess I'll add a little bit over there. Okay, Sarah, what about that gratitude for you for even walking into the situation so you can become more aware? Okay, gratitude for me. Okay, gratitude for the awareness you're receiving. Are you grateful right now? And sometimes it would just be like, are you fucking grateful that you're still alive, bitch? And I'd be like, yes. Okay. And then from that, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not as relevant because I am still alive, right? I'm going to reaction. I'm having all this stuff up. But gratitude, to me, gratitude is the magic sauce. Like you sprinkle it on anything, it changes it. That's it. End of story. Okay. But then walking along in my life, something comes up and I'm like, hey, great 5. What do you need from, or how can you contribute to me? And honor would pop up. And I want to be like, oh, Sarah, you doing that thing where you make yourself small in order to honor others? Honor's from the South. I don't know if you know that, but
Honor and ankle weights.
honor's like, oh God, we should give them all accents. That would be really fun, except I only know like 2 accents and they won't really work. Okay. So anyhow, so honor pops up and honor asked me questions all about honor. And so then I was choosing to have the energy of honor in my life in a real life situation. And to me, I mean, other people might be able to just be like, what would it take to have more honor? And then walk and then honor they step in some honor and they get it all over their shoe and now they have honor. I don't know. That's not how it worked for me. I have to choose it to actualize that into my reality. And then the next something would come up and there would also be this like subtlety of acknowledgement. So if one's popping forward to facilitate me, I started to perceive where the other 4 was like, you got this because you just added more gratitude yesterday, girl. You just trusted yourself with that other thing that we went through yesterday, girl, and just because I'm not being facilitated by allowance right now, gratitude, or I am being facilitated by allowance right now, and I'm choosing more allowance, and allowance is actually giving me information. The other 4 were in my corner. They're like, you got this because you have the rest of us. You've chosen us over and over again recently. And that journey expanded out over 3 months. Like I have me in a way that I never thought possible. And I'm constantly exploring more ways to have me and other people's realities and points of view and whether or not they choose me or don't choose me become less and less relevant. It's just their choice. And I'm not for everybody. And that's okay.
Well, I'll have more of that too, please. um, and I want to make sure that we mention that we have a taster call on Thursday. So in 2 days, guys, it's only $25. Puppet or master, is your childhood still pulling the strings? And not that we talked about it wholeheartedly directly today, but you absolutely touched on it when you talked about the parenting thing and where we learned certain aspects. We can have things all the way from childhood that are still very much present in our adult lives. And it requires us cutting those strings to be able to fully step into ourselves and step into choice. So if you guys would like to join us for that call, it's on Thursday and it's only $25. We would love to have you. And as Sarah also mentioned, next month, August 9th to the 11th, we are doing a 3-day relationships done different class. So like this is just a tiny little taste. Imagine if you had 3 days to really dive in. You get a manual, you can ask your questions and get direct facilitation. You'll get to hear my question about honoring people. um, and so that's August 9th to 11th, live
And
in,
it has country pricing,
yes,
right? Right, kids? Did you say that already?
I did not say that.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh,
Yes.
did I just do that?
It has country pricing. So depending on where you are in the world, based on exchange rates and all of that, you can see that on the checkout. We have the different countries listed. It's live in Argentina, online around the world. So we would love to have you come join us and play further. Sarah, is there anything else that you would like to say in closing before we stop the recording and do the raffle?
Yeah. There are so many classes in foundation in access like foundation that are just like fucking out of the park amazing. Um, but I was just telling someone, I think she's on here today. I was messaging with, I don't know, maybe she's not here. I won't say her name. With somebody. And I was like, girl, all of your questions are about relationships, like all of them. Whether it's how you're relating to money, it's how you're, it's this idea of the distance between you and the thing you'd like to have more than anything. And if that's your future, if that's, an intimate like relationship, your body, whatever, like you are functioning here. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I became an RDD facilitator because I thought it looked good on social media. Okay. Truth be told. All right. So I'm gonna like truth. Like I very much believe in transparency, especially as a facilitator. Um, I did. I didn't look at the content before. I was just looking at like, hey, what would create a future? And I got RDD and I was like, all right, I had a conclusion attached there, but there was still a lightness to choose it. Chose it. And the first 3-day we did, we didn't do it. We didn't even do a 3-day for like a year almost. Like
A
my
really
license was
long
coming up
time.
and we're like, oh my God. Cause it wasn't like, I wasn't there for the 3-day class. It was like, oh, we can do all these tasters. And I know a lot about relationships and I'm like really good with people and whatever else I would like to acknowledge about myself right now that I don't have a list for, but it matched. Right. But I couldn't tell you why it matched. And then we did our first 3-day and I walked out of there with like brain matter coming down my ears, literally, almost not literally. Dane would hate me for doing that. I'd never been more fried and I had never been more exposed and explored. And I know that was the same for a lot of people in there. We dug in, we went deep, and I was shocked by the manual, shocked as shit by the manual. Because you're relating to everything always, all the time. And there are things like you can go and I foundation class, fucking rock, world changing. I'm not trying to compete them, but I will compare them. Foundation class, there are things in there that you might not have ever experienced, but it's like that broader thing, right? You're welcome, Trini. There's gaslighting in foundation as an example, right? And you might not have had much gaslighting in your life, but it's there because it needs to destroy the foundation of your reality. But there are things that like you might not connect with all the things, but this thing was facilitating everybody with every page we turned, because of how we are taught to relate. And let's go back to the beginning before we leave. What is the truth of you? The truth of you is that you are communion. And if you are doing relation, if you are relating, you are on the separation of you and everything else, you and the world around you, you and them. And you are putting energy on this, which is not the truth of your being. So when you change that shit, big shit changes. That's all I'm going to say. Big shit. If you want big shit to change, choose an RDD class, whether it's now, whether it's in the future, whether it's with me or another facilitator. Please look at what RDD, relationships done different, can be for you and what you're asking for. That's all. Now I'm done.
That's all, just a little big shit. Yeah. Amen to that. Sarah, this was awesome. Thank you for letting me be on and
Thank you.
ask you some questions.
Best host
And
ever. Love you.
I love you. Thank you to all of our trades. Thank you to Allie for jumping in and officially hosting. Anyway, thank you to all the people for being a part of this. I think we'll go ahead and we'll stop the recording and we will get to the raffle.